Welcome back. I have two guests, a conservative and a liberal, to break this all down. We'll start on the right with the conservative. He hosts the Will Cain Show on Fox News. I believe it is every weekday at 4 p.m. on Fox News. He used to work with me at ESPN. He's a friend of mine. I love him to death. I haven't seen him in a while. He's crazy. We don't usually agree, but I got love for him. The one and only Will Cain. What's up, man? How you doing?
What do you mean you believe it is at 4 p.m. Eastern time? You damn well better know it's at 4 p.m. Eastern time. I mean, I've learned from the best. If you don't sing your praises, I don't know who will. So let me just say, if you don't know, well, you need to join the millions that do. We're setting ratings records over here at 4 p.m. We're rivaling prime time. So tune in and join, Stephen A.
Right. Well, listen, man, I've caught, my schedule's busy, but I've caught your show several times because it's you. And I'd love to tell you I'm surprised at the great job you're doing, but I'm not. I love the fact that you got your own show. I think that you're going to eventually be in prime time. I'm making that prediction. Personally speaking, I think you should be in prime time already. I'm just going to give you that kind of love, but I'm proud of you, my man. You're getting better. You're getting better. I have to give it to you. Well, let me get right to it, man. Yesterday on your show, you broke down the timeline of the heated feud between Elon Musk and President Donald Trump, saying, quote, "This is not a story that we wanted today for America." Is this good or bad for the Republican Party in your estimation, Will?
Well, there's no doubt about it that it's bad. There's no doubt about it. This is not just bad for the Republican Party, Stephen A. This is bad for America. The only people left snickering today and enjoying the ride are those that wish for the downfall of Donald Trump or think that Elon Musk is the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler. And of course, both of those are absurd propositions. I think we have seen something truly remarkable. And I've been watching your commentary. I've been watching your, I hope, evolution, not towards the right, but towards being in the right over the last several months. And the truth of the matter is, when the world's richest man and the world's most powerful man can share the stage, and they did, Stephen A., in remarkable fashion, in very generous and humble fashion, when they can share the stage, that in and of itself is remarkable for America. And I can only hope at the end of this roller coaster, it coasts in for a beautiful ride. I hope that they can make amends and get back on the same team.
Well, educate my audience as to specifically why has it come to this with their personal relationship. We can speculate, we can read various news reports, but from your understanding, what was the tipping point that pushed Elon Musk over the edge to get to this point where he's been so acerbic and so abrasive towards the president? Because I definitely would accuse him of being that towards the president in this particular instance.
Yeah, Elon Musk looks like he's crashing out. Looks like he's lost it and he's unstable. In this particular episode, the last 24 hours, there's the substance and there's the style. Let's start with the substance, Stephen A. It is the most boring, but it's also the most important. Elon doesn't like the big, beautiful bill. Elon has taken it upon himself over the last several months to dig in to the government's finances, dig into every department with, of course, Doge. Look, Elon is a genius, Stephen A. I mean, he's a Thomas Edison level individual that will go down in history as one of the most important men to grace this planet. He simply is. But Elon is also someone quirky, used to getting things done solely sometimes, or at least through his singular vision. And that's just not going to be possible in government. It's certainly not going to be possible in democracy. Democracy is messy and full of people of different opinions. And some of those are even within what people think is a monolith, one party, Republicans. But it's not a monolith. It's a mix. So Elon comes in, he sees the dire financial straits of the United States. He knows we can't continue to run these kind of deficits, over 6%, 7% of GDP year over year. It's unsustainable, $36 trillion in debt. And he wants to do something about it. And he wishes he had the reins to just get it done. But you don't. You just don't in a democracy. And so he doesn't like the big, beautiful bill. For his part, I do believe that Donald Trump is getting the best possible bill that he can get. And that is because it is messy, as I keep saying, democracy. Of course, Democrats aren't going to participate in anything that reduces the size of government. But even on the right, even among Republicans, Stephen A., you got New York and New Jersey and California Democrats that probably will do something you want, which is institute SALT, state and local tax deductions to your federal taxes. Guys like you that live in New York and New Jersey or in California, you want that. You don't want to pay the feds for stuff you're
That's
having to
right.
pay the state of New Jersey. I'm sure I
Damn
lived up
right.
there with you. I'm sure I liked it. But now that I live back home in Texas, I don't want to subsidize your bloated and fat and inefficient government in New York and New Jersey. And that's what I'm doing. I'm subsidizing it when you get to write it off of your federal taxes. But Donald Trump has to deal with it because there are Republicans from New Jersey and New York and California. In the Senate, there's Republicans that like parts of the Green New Deal, and it means something to a senator from North Dakota. So the point is, Stephen A., he's got to make a deal. And that's what Donald Trump does. He makes deals. And Elon Musk doesn't like the deal. So that's the substance. Okay. But real quickly, then there's the style. Okay. And that's important as well. It's the personalities. And I don't know what's going on with Elon. You know, I think he, like I said, is quirky. I don't know Elon. I think I don't even know that we've shaken hands. We've been in the same room once or twice. But I think he has a grand vision. I appreciate his vision. I think that he is a different kind of dude, Stephen A. I really do. And I think it speaks volumes to Donald Trump that not only have they gotten along, but he's welcomed him in and shared the stage and managed to be good partners for America.
But in the same breath, well, we can't sit here and act like Donald Trump has done everything right. I certainly understand and I side with you from the standpoint that, with his big, beautiful deal, everything in there, everybody is not going to like. You have to acquiesce to some of the demands. Like you said, he's about making a deal, whatever it takes to get a deal done and get some of the things that he wants, primarily preserving those 27 tax cuts and making sure they extend to now and they don't get canceled out. The flip side to that, however, is that he brags about having these individuals hiring the very, very best, the greatest innovative minds, people who have the country's interests best and stuff like that. And when we see this kind of erratic behavior from an Elon Musk, and we see him and the president of the United States go back and forth. Some people would say it's beneath Donald Trump. I happen to believe what Donald Trump said hasn't been that bad against Elon Musk. To me, it's been coming from Elon Musk in terms of the extreme statements that he has made, which I won't repeat. My point is that it's still somebody that Donald Trump not only embraced, but empowered. Department of Government Efficiency, cuts, people lost their jobs, etc. And folks, particularly on the left, are looking at this now and saying, see, it's exactly what we warned y'all about. Look at this mess that's going on within the Trump administration, because no matter which way you slice it, because it's Elon Musk, that is what he is perceived as, because that is what he has been, a part of the Trump administration. What do you say to that?
Okay, first, you won't say, but I will. And I see you're showing some of what Elon Musk had to say on screen, but let's deal with the most salacious and the biggest broadside attack. And that is the reason the Epstein files weren't released is because Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Well, first of all, it's not
Okay.
breaking news that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein. It's nothing new or nothing
Okay.
salacious to say there are records that show he might have been at times flying with Jeffrey Epstein, but there's no evidence there's anything more than that relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And if there were, Stephen A., I would suggest to you that the Department of Justice under Joe Biden would have, the FBI under James Comey would have aired that stuff against Donald Trump. They did everything possible to take down Donald Trump. And I say this with love. Even you have been talking about the level of lawfare against Trump. So do you think they would have kept that ace of spades in their pocket and not played that card had they had it against Donald Trump? It's simply unbelievable.
Pause before you go on. I want to make sure that I'm letting my audience know. I think it's egregious to just say something like that without proof. So I'm glad you're touching on it, but I want them to know the reason I haven't done it is because I'm not going to be unfair to Donald Trump like that. That's why I didn't want to do that. I just want to let the audience know that, because I think it's irresponsible to just throw that out there the way Elon Musk did. But go ahead.
Right. Well, I just think and it's okay for us. It's okay for us to discuss it in terms of its lack of credibility. What more, it's not the flex that Elon thinks it is, that if he knew that information, he was going to keep it as well under his cap as long as he liked the spending cuts. So now he doesn't like the spending cuts, so he's willing to expose one of the greatest salacious, most indicting things you could say about somebody. I just think it shows it has no credibility, that particular broadside. Now to your point about everyone looks at Donald Trump saying he hires the best and the brightest and look at the method it's created. Well, look, it's a little bit like criticizing. I'm trying to think of the right sports metaphor, Stephen A. It's a little bit like criticizing the New England Patriots run, the incredible dynasty put together between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And then for us all to think the bigger story is the relationship between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So what I mean by that is not necessarily that Elon Musk and Donald Trump put together a historical dynasty, but it is historical to bring these types of figures together. So what I mean, okay, you know this, if I might, Stephen A. You know something about big egos, not just your own, but others. You've been around a lot of big egos throughout your career.
Yours too, damn it. You ain't getting away with that. You too. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, man. Right.
Our relationship is a testament to the power that sometimes big egos can coexist, get along, and even be friends. But don't get it twisted. Right. That's rare. How often are the world's richest man and the world's most powerful man partners in a shared vision? It is super rare. So you start from a historical point. You can't really think the story is, wow, it didn't last or it's a mess. It's incredible it ever existed in the first place. Look at Donald Trump literally shared the Oval Office, let Elon Musk stand there for hours on end and commandeered the cameras. I watched those and I thought, man, Donald Trump is not the guy people think he is. He is not the attention hound and the credibility seeker that everybody thinks he is. He's perfectly willing to share the stage. And I think that is historical. It's truly historical. Now, posit that, okay, it's messy. It's transparent. Everything's playing out before our eyes, and it's not always going to go well. Now, posit that against what we've had, not just for the last 5 years, Stephen A., but I would offer you through most presidential administrations. Highly coordinated, highly produced. Fake kumbaya. Everybody on the same page. Everybody parroting the same spin. And in the end, what do you get? You get something like Karine Jean-Pierre 3 months out of the office of being the biggest spinster.
Oh, don't get me started with her.
I know.
But I can't wait to see her. I can't wait to see her. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Literally
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Lie. She wasn't willing to spin for Joe Biden. And then 3 months later, you know what? I'm not a Democrat anymore. That right there could suggest to everybody in America, maybe we could use a little more messy transparency instead of manufactured and polished fake kumbaya.
That's a damn good point. And don't get me started with that. You're not even a Democrat anymore. And now you're out of office. You're out of the White House. And now we're going to profit. I can't wait to see her. God bless her for selling her book. But I can't wait to see her, to ask her about that stuff. Because stuff that she said in the White House is one thing. That was your employer. But then you went on The View after you left the White House and you said some of the same stuff. You could have gave everybody a heads up then. You didn't do it. So anyway, we'll get back to that another time. You said it's hard to see a path forward for these two, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, to repair their relationship after Musk slammed the president's proposed spending bill. Is this a feud the party created, or do you just put it solely on Musk? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, if the party helped create or fuel this feud, it's that Elon Musk doesn't like what happens when you pour action into the messy democratic process of a bunch of congressmen and senators and get the result that he doesn't like. But the truth is, I think this is more about personalities. Now, normal personalities would say, you've crossed the Rubicon. This is irreparable. You accused me of being in league with Jeffrey Epstein. And he also endorsed a random user saying impeach Trump and install J.D. Vance. He also did that. And for most people, that would be a bridge too far. We're not going to fix this. I don't think that's Donald Trump. I'm being real with you, Stephen A. Now, I do know this man somewhat, where I said I don't know Musk as well. I do know Donald Trump, but you don't have to know him to see this. He's actually forgiving. He actually moves beyond. He doesn't hold grudges. Oh, he'll come hard at you if you go at him. But given time and space and the opportunity to heal, he's shown over and over that he's willing to do so. I mean, J.D. Vance one time referred to him as Hitler, and J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States. You have said hard things about Donald Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me right now he's called you. I'd be surprised if you said he's never called you. I bet you've heard from Donald Trump.
Right.
And you've said hard things about Donald Trump. He looks past it when he needs to. He's not as sensitive, or at least he doesn't hold grudges like you would think. And so I wouldn't put it beyond the realm of possibility that we could see a beautiful big reunion for Musk and Trump.
I would tell you this. As far as I'm concerned, I've never said anything that I owe Donald Trump an apology for. I can tell you that much, because I never called him out his name or anything like that. I just don't like the way he behaves. And I think that it's been erratic.
You know what the funny thing is?
You don't have to apologize.
That's why I didn't vote for him. You don't have to apologize to be on good terms with Donald Trump. Look at Bill Maher. You don't have to. It's just he's not. The media has created such a caricature of Donald Trump. If you only ever watched CNN or MSNBC or NBC or ABC or CBS, you just have a cartoonish caricature vision of who the man actually is, and you don't know reality.
Will Cain, hold on for a second. I got to pay some bills, but I'll be right back with you. It's Stephen A. Smith with Will Cain right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Back with more in a minute. Back here with Will Cain on the Stephen A. Smith Show. So, Will, let's get right to it. How worried are you for the Republicans in the 2026 midterms in light of Musk, basically threatening to formulate a third party, basically threatening to finance Democrats the way that he did some Republicans, especially Trump? 2026, 2028 could be in trouble for the right based on all this noise we've been seeing. You concerned about that, Bill? You concerned about that, Will?
I'm not. Look, you can do two things at the same time. You can give Elon Musk a ton of credit for the role he played, the money he spent in electing Donald Trump, but I personally think Donald Trump would have trounced Kamala Harris without Elon Musk. And right now, and I wouldn't put it beyond the realm of possibility that Elon Musk does go out there. Maybe he does give money to third parties. Maybe he even gives money to Democrats. But you could give all the money in the world. You could give, how about that? I don't want to give you any ammunition, so I'm not going to use the Dallas Cowboys. But you could give all the money in the world to, I don't know, pick your lowest level franchise, and it's not going to make them an overnight champion. And right now, the problem with the Democratic Party is there's nobody to put money behind. There's just simply no talent on the bench. There's not any in AAA, there's not any in AA, and there's certainly not any in the majors. You show me where the biggest level talent is. I might be talking to him. I might be talking to the biggest talent on the bench for Democrats.
There you go with your stuff. There you go with your stuff. I will tell you this, though. I agree with you as it pertains to a national figure. But when you're talking about some of these congressional districts, when you're talking about some of these districts that the senators are fighting for as well, I think he has an opportunity to make inroads. I don't know if you can definitively say that the GOP has a strong hold on the House and the Senate. In that regard, as you sift through this country, he might be able to make some inroads there.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a slim margin. It's a slim margin in both the House and the Senate. And let's not get it mixed up. The charm and charisma and pull of Donald Trump, not every politician can even come close to scratching the surface of. Doesn't matter if they have an R by their name. But it's not just the people. Politics is two things. And, one thing I appreciate about, and people, I don't want people to think I'm gratuitously, buttering you up, because I have on my program at times criticized you, and whether or not you're aware, I'm sure you're a big boy enough to not care. And politics is two things, and one of them you still have to work on. If any of this stuff about you is real, then there's still, and you admit this, holes in your game. It's a combination of two things. Yeah. It's personality, charm, persuasion, and the ability to connect with people. And you have that. You've got that, okay? And Donald Trump has that. But you also have to have policy. You have to have things people care about. And right now, the Democratic Party has no policy, Stephen A., that even an Elon Musk-funded run presents to me a real threat. Now, that doesn't mean he couldn't pick off a House seat or two, or maybe a Senate seat or two, and it is a slim margin. But the biggest issue for the Democrat Party right now isn't money, and it is in part personality. But the biggest problem is the policies and ideas. They're simply not just bad, Stephen A., they're really, really unpopular.
Let me say this to you on a personal note. There's been plenty of times where people have come up to me and they said, did you see Will Cain? He's criticized you. I said, no, and I don't give a damn. And here's the reason why. Because I'm quite sure it was Will Cain disagreeing with something that I said. He's not attacking me or my character. That's the relationship we have. I don't care if he disagrees with me. And that's all. I've always been that way.
And you're the same way. Right. This is one of the reasons we've gotten along. I would not say something into a microphone or behind your back that I would never say to your face. And that is like our relationship is not predicated on liking everything each other have to say. The relationship is predicated on the integrity of telling one another where we do not agree or disagree.
That's right. And where we stand. And that's why we got love for one another. Let me ask you this question. You've heard that Steve Bannon, obviously a Trump loyalist, somebody that used to work in the White House, no longer does so. But he basically called for Elon Musk to be deported. He said, quote, they should initiate a formal investigation of his immigration status because I am of the strong belief that he is an illegal alien, and he should be deported from the country immediately. Now, see, Will, this is one of the problems, right? This is one of the problems right here, because I had somebody look it up, and I was informed. Elon Musk is a naturalized U.S. citizen. He became a citizen in 2002 after moving from South Africa to Canada in 1989 and then to the United States in the early 1990s. His journey included various visas, culminating in U.S. citizenship through the legal naturalization process. As a U.S. citizen, Musk is protected under the Constitution and cannot be deported without due process. Deportation of a naturalized citizen is extremely rare. If I know that, damn it, Steve Bannon knows that. What do you think when you hear somebody like Steve Bannon say those words?
Well, first of all, that's a question, and I don't know if you two have talked. I think that you have. And that's
we have in the past. Yes, I interviewed him.
Yeah,
I interviewed him.
I thought that was right. Yeah, and that's a question for Steve Bannon. So I'm glad you looked that up, because I was wondering that last night. I saw what Steve had to say, and I'm going to say a couple things. Steve is incredibly smart, and Steve is worth listening to. And there are things that Steve and I are definitely on the same page about. And I have no problem saying, like, I believe in the United States of America and the culture and the form of government and the protection of the United States of America. And Steve, I believe, is very skeptical of anyone who he thinks might question those foundational elements of the United States of America. I wondered last night the same thing that you just educated me on. I wondered, what is Elon's citizenship status? And I'm glad you clarified for me and the audience. He's a citizen of the United States, and you can't deport a citizen of the United States, to my knowledge. And I would love to hear Steve's argument for why. Steve's always been skeptical of Elon. And I don't think Steve's skepticism of Elon, by the way, is unfair. I think he's skeptical towards all of tech, towards everyone that thinks that a country is like a company ready to be optimized. That's not what a country is. We're not a business. We're not here simply to get rich and wealthy. We are here to be what we have been throughout our history, and that is the world's leader in way of life. And this is where we can always diverge into conversations about where we've fallen short and our mistakes that we've made throughout our history, all of which are true and need to be acknowledged. But still, we're special. We're special on the face of humanity. And I'm with Steve in protecting that above all.
I hear you on that. What is special about the big, beautiful bill in your estimation that the country should look forward to, that the country should like? Since Elon Musk has spoken against it, what about those who have spoken for it? What are they saying that's big and beautiful about it?
Okay, that's a tough question. I'm not sure there is a lot that is special. Do you ever get to special by compromise? Do you ever get to special by the messy issue of making a deal? But I do think there are very smart people who are singing its praises. I'll give you two. I think Stephen Miller is brilliant. I think Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, is brilliant. And they lay out three things: tax cuts, waste and fraud cuts, not to the level that Elon wants, but waste and fraud cuts, and codifying the protection of the border. Those are the three things they like. Now, on the most important thing is, if you're going to have deficits, but you want to try to reduce those, the argument is the way you do that is growing your economy, and the tax cuts grow the economy. Bessent believes we can run deficits at 3% by growing the economy 3%. And by cutting taxes, we supercharge the economy into growth of 3%. That's the way you reduce deficits, even if it's not the cuts that someone like Elon Musk wants through Doge. There's one more thing, Stephen. If you're really in the business of educating your audience, it's a little bit boring, but you have to understand, a reconciliation bill is not a budget bill. It's not an appropriations bill. There's only so much you can do through reconciliation. There are other places to make cuts. Two of them are rescission. That's what the president says to the Senate. I want you to make these cuts. They go back and they formalize them. There's one right now for $9 billion, which is not enough. And that's tiny in the grand scope of things. And the other is appropriations. And all those great people you mentioned that Trump hires. Hegseth, that's where I've taken issue with you, by the way, Stephen A. My friend Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Sean Duffy at Transportation. On and on. Every secretary of every cabinet looks for cuts, asks Congress this is the budget that I need, institute these cuts, and that's what we'll get through appropriations. It's not the end of the story just because it's not in the one big beautiful bill.
Understood. And by the way, I'm going to save your platform to bring up Pete Hegseth when you call me on your show. You do that. I got no problems with the man. I haven't lambasted the man at all. I've just talked about what his ascension represented. There was a bigger deal. If I saw Pete Hegseth, I'd walk up to him and say to him, I have nothing against you. You served our country with honor and distinction. I got no problems with you, my man. I was just talking about what it represented. I mean, damn, that's all I'm saying. But we'll talk about that another day. My last question to you, because I know you got to go. And I got to go as well. If this Elon Musk and Trump fiasco, brouhaha, doesn't simmer down, if it gets uglier, you've already said this is not good.
Right.
How bad could it possibly get for Trump and the administration and our government if Elon goes nuclear, per se, and somehow gets even worse than he has already gotten, especially considering the fact that Trump acknowledged all the access that he had throughout the White House, access to files and things of this nature? What the hell if that, what if that happens, Will Cain? What if Elon Musk gets uglier?
I think there's limited damage for Trump. There's a floor on the amount of damage that Musk can do to Trump, and there is much more potential loss for Musk. First of all, Musk does have government contracts. I don't think he cares as much about EV tax credits. He's incredibly passionate about space and NASA and SpaceX. And he stands to lose on one of his biggest passions should he make a complete enemy of the president of the United States. I also think Musk will run into a credibility issue if he keeps doing things like the accusations around Jeffrey Epstein or impeachment. And Donald Trump, look, the American people voted for Donald Trump. They didn't vote for Elon Musk. That doesn't mean there's a lot of people that might have been persuaded to his side because of the influence of Musk. But in the end, he is the man that's elected to the president of the United States. And I think there's a floor on the amount of damage. Look, how about this, Stephen A? This is you and me and other sports metaphors standing at the plate. We're batting against, I don't know, we're batting against Garrett Cole, and he's thrown every pitch he's got. What's left in the end? We're hitting everything. Donald Trump has seen every pitch, every single pitch. Are you telling me Musk has one that hasn't already been thrown? I think there's a floor on how much damage
I'm
you can do
saying we
to
don't
Donald
know
Trump.
that, Will. Will, the man is worth over $450 billion, and he got close to Trump and close to the White House administration. I'm saying I don't know. I mean, I get the point. It's a legitimate question that you've asked, albeit rhetorically. I'm saying the possibilities of a potent answer might be out there. It might be something we haven't seen. We don't know with this guy.
All right.
We don't know.
Just for the record, as we're putting this down, just prepare yourself, because more likely as an outcome is you have one big, beautiful makeup session and these two guys get back together.
I got you. The one and only Will Cain. The Will Cain Show, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fox News got ratings already rivaling prime time, doing this thing. And I'm going to come on your show soon because I owe you. So I've been on the road the last 2 damn months. I owe you an appearance on your show, man. Then. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Stephen A.
All right, buddy. You take it easy. Interesting perspective right there from Will Cain. Obviously, he thinks it's a relationship that can be amended. Things could get better. Who knows? Donald Trump has forgiven people before, so the likelihood is that he'd be willing to forgive a man worth about $450 billion that donated over $200 million to his campaign and that of other GOP members. This is what Donald Trump is capable of doing. After all, the vice president of the United States of America once said some very incendiary things about him, and he's the vice president of the United States of America. Said some really ridiculous things about Donald Trump in the past, and Donald Trump forgave him. So that's what their position is.